Thomas Harris had an idea from what started as a few novels released in the 80s to what some think may be one of the best psychological thriller films ever released. For today's tale, we head to the Baltimore State Hospital, where a young FBI agent in training by the name of Clarice Starling is given the task to interrogate a high level, maximum security inmate in order to get some help for unsolved crimes, including the crimes of the notorious Buffalo Bill. The inmate, the one and only Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter. Clarice soon finds out what she's really gotten herself into. Not only does she realize what Lecter is capable of, but she goes down a deep, dark rabbit hole of murder, skinned victims, and of course, cannibalism. Tonight, we will definitely not be eating liver with fava beans and a nice bottle of Chianti, but instead, we do a discussion of sorts on the 1991 psychological thriller and Oscar winner for not only Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, Best Director, but Best Picture, Silence of the Lambs. This is a Comic Talkers production, and you are listening to Just Put the Fucking Lotion in the Basket edition of Just for Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. With me today, as always, is Mr. B-Dog, Mr. Brandon. How you doing tonight? Or today, this morning, whenever.
Hello, Patty B. No, I'm excited for this movie. This is one of my favorites. And with us again, a good friend of ours on the podcast. He's been on many episodes with us. Please welcome back from John's Comics with Kids. John, how are you doing, John?
I mean, I'm doing wonderful, but I'm not, having to eat people, so I'm doing okay on that one.
Crazy we live in a world where that's an actual thing.
And this is one I know when we've talked about this, even during Crime Month, this was one of the movies you really pitched hard about in Silence of the Lambs. And I think people tend to forget this is a crime film. It's not so much a suspense and horror film. It is more of a crime suspense film. Now, John, what was your take? Like, before we kind of go into like the meat and potatoes of this episode, what was your take about this movie overall when you first watched it to nowadays?
I mean, it's a movie that I've always had a lot of love for. We mentioned Thomas Harris at the jump, and I have read most of his books, and I love Manhunter, the original adaptation of his novel Red Dragon. I've even read some of the novels by John Douglas about his creation of the behavioral sciences department in the FBI, which became the show Mind Hunters on Netflix. And he is the basis for the head of the behavioral sciences, Scott Glenn character in Silence of the Lambs. So there's a lot of sort of psychology at the backside of this that I've always kind of found fascinating. And having read some of those novels and seen Manhunter before this, when I saw Silence, I think the first time, it was not in a theater, but when I saw it the first time, I was just like completely blown away. It felt, I was a Hitchcock fan, and then I was a horror fan in the 80s, and then this felt like a wonderful blend of all the favorite things I love from a good suspense thriller. And then, it even had the female lead in distress, the Jamie Lee Curtis Scream Queen kind of role, but in a very different, way. And having seen Jodie Foster from Taxi Driver to The Accused, where she was almost always this victim, and to see her now like the moth coming from the cocoon, like be born into the heroine, like she brought a cinematic history to her performance in a way where those of us that had seen her as an actress moving through film had seen her play the victim, and to then give her the chance to rescue the victim, it became this, you were cheering for her from the jump. And I think that there was so many wonderful nuggets like that. And of course, all the Roger Corman connections to his days as he shows up as the head of the FBI in this, and the ways in which he helped Demi in his career. And there's a lot of great cinema lore and history built into what is ostensibly just it could have been a throwaway serial killer of the week kind of movie.
Right. It really speaks volumes. And I thought the same thing with, especially with Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster plays a huge role in this story. And the fact being that, one, I forgot how stunning she was as a woman when she was younger. She's very stunning.
Yep.
But when you get those moments, like you can still see kind of not like the victim role, but you see her still being nervous about things until you get to those points where now she's being more confident in her decision making. And it's really good for her because she's a rookie. She's still learning how to become an FBI agent to now where she's now investigating probably one of the most prolific in this story, one of the most prolific serial killers to ever live at that. It is very interesting to see, and the fact that even Hannibal Lecter even respects her as much as she does. It's a really, like, you don't want to say it's a compliment because he is still a bad person, but that's when you get that sense of he's out for the mean or the bad people. He's not out to hurt the ones that actually do good. And with her, it's just I love the banter between Hannibal and Clarice. I love the conversations they have. I love and bring a point that Pat brought up too. This was actually the third film ever to win the Big Five Academy Awards ever. It, and that was like Pat said, best picture, best actor, best actress, best director, and best writing or screenplay. First time or third time it's ever happened. It's interesting to see how, well, one, even seeing the budget for this film I thought was small for 19 mil for actors like Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, who were pretty, like, I know they were saying, I was reading that even Anthony Hopkins thought this was a last ditch effort for to boost his career. So that's the only reason he took it. And it really did, because for 25 near, I think they estimated 24 minutes and 32 seconds or around that range, that is the time he's in the movie. So
Great.
he's less than, I think they said it was like less than maybe 21% of the film he's in. That's it. And for him to win best actor was amazing to see. Like, that by far is, if we did a top five performances of actors, that would probably make my top five. Anthony Hopkins just does an amazing job in this film. That intense stares, the conversation.
It's an example of a performance that is bleeding over into the scenes they're not in, to the extent that even when he's not on screen, his presence is felt. And
Yep.
that doesn't happen often, I think, in cinema, where, obviously characters aren't even talking about him, but you feel his presence in sequences. And that's good filmmaking, that's good editing, it's good sound, it's good music, because they're able to then make a connection across from two different moments. And I think ultimately that's why his performance maybe deserves best actor versus supporting actor. I can understand both arguments on it, but for me, I feel his presence in every frame of this movie.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I think, John, you bring up a good point too. With, I've heard things that people felt like he should have been best supporting and not so much best actor. Do you
Sure.
agree with, like, do you see where people are coming across with that more? Or do you feel like, nah, it's justifiable, he should have won, or he is deserving of that best actor?
It's so political. Oscars are so political, and there's so much strategy involved where they're able to look and say like, "Ooh, the supporting actor field is stacked. It's going to be hard to win there. Somebody's a clear front runner versus, oh, the best actor category is kind of wide open. There's a lot of choices. Maybe, so there's a ton of silly strategy that goes into that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was a very political move to move him into that best actor category. And I can understand both frustrations on both sides. But for me, the only reason that I would agree to it for him in this case is because of the prevalence of his performance and how it just seeps into everything.
I just looked it up to see who won best supporting actor that year. It was Jack
Jack
Palance
Palance.
for
Sorry.
City Slickers.
I was looking it up myself. Well, I was just gonna say this too, since we're on the topic of talking about this. I think it's kind of a disservice not to mention Ted Levine being up for maybe a best supporting actor. Okay. I mean, just the way that he portrays himself in this movie is fucking crazy. I mean, just the the demeanor of his character. He's Buffalo Bill. He's, skinning people. Yeah, it's just to that's a role you get real into character, I think, for. Maybe he didn't, but that's a deep character, I should say. That's
Yeah,
not
it's
like
shocking that he ever could work again, right? That that the guy was never like one of those. He played the killer in Dirty Harry, and nobody ever saw him again, like kind of guys. The fact that he had this great career on Monk as the the head of the police department on that show, and was like so funny and so wonderful on that. It
Mhm.
was every time I saw him, I was always getting the shivers, like, oh crap, what's Ted Levine gonna do in this movie? Um, because he just, yeah, he's horrifying and captivating.
It, I believe they were also nominated for original score, which I know this score too was amazing to listen
was.
to. But the thing is who they lost to. It's like it's kind of hard to really put that against it and not hope that Silence of the Lambs going to win. Beauty and the Beast won that
Yeah, I
year.
was gonna say it's got to be Beauty and the Beast because I know they won original song that what year as well. So, and they were nominated for Best Picture clearly.
But that's why I said it's
Like,
still like I
he's
remember watching
best.
highlights from this Oscars
It was
and
the first, yeah, it was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture.
yeah,
That's insane.
Yeah,
the well wait wasn't Snow White though too?
no,
No, Snow White
he got
wasn't
an on. Disney got like an honorary Academy Award, but it was not nominated for Best
for
Picture.
like cinema achievement. Like it
Yeah,
was like a cinema
he,
achievement
I
award.
think he's the most. I think him and John Williams, I can't remember who's in first place now, but most Oscars won because he would win a lot of technical awards, and Disney's gotten a lot of honorary Oscars and things. But Best Picture was always something that kind of eluded him because animation looked down upon a lot of times.
Yeah. I forgot about that. The
But
one
much in the same way that I think horror as a genre was looked down upon, and then this movie upended that tradition. Usually the rule was the longest movie wins Best Picture, the most depressing movie wins Best Picture. Horror and comedy don't have a shot.
and
And
nowadays it's
You have
most
character
confusing.
development, you're getting nominated for a best actor. Yeah.
this movie breaks a lot of the rules. It's one of the shortest movies to win Best Picture, and it's one of the rare horror films to win Best Picture. And like you said, it's one of the few films that sweeps all the major awards. And so I think it tends to be a rule defying film in general.
Well, it's I was reading too. It's the first time since another movie we're going to be covering this month, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that did that.
Yeah.
So it was a span of close to 20 years from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's not at 20 years, but it's close to it to Silence of the Lambs. And it really shows you just how good this film is. It is a really good film. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. What do you guys think the budget was for this film?
Uh,
Didn't you? I thought you just said it. Wasn't it like $10 million or something?
That's more than that. Yeah, I said that just the budget alone was like kind of weird. I was shocked when I heard this. It was 19 mil.
That's what he said. Okay.
Yeah.
I
The
mean, Jodie at the time was not a big name. She had done a few films like Accused and whatever, but she was a child actor, so I don't know that she would have been expensive. Anthony Hopkins, like you mentioned, he was, struggling. I wouldn't be surprised if Scott Glenn was the most expensive movie actor they had, that like he was the one that was like, well, we got to spend money. We need a name. Let's get Scott Glenn in here in a small role, whatever.
you wouldn't
Um,
think. All right, looking at it from in hindsight, I
yeah, if you
guess.
can put it in 1991 mindset, they got people on the way up, and they paid probably bottom dollar for them, and scored and hit home runs. And at the same time, Jonathan Demme was not this huge filmmaker. He'd been a comedy filmmaker. This was not a genre that he was known for in any way. And then the movie rights and actually the media rights for Hannibal Lecter as a character in these books became a nightmare because of this movie. So Manhunter was such a failure. Like that movie did not. It's a great movie. People should check it out. It's really wonderful. Michael Mann did a great job, but it flopped. And then the producers came with this idea, oh, we want to make Silence of the Lambs. And they went to the family that owned the film rights, and they were like, sure, you can have this movie. Roger Corman's buddies are going to make a movie about it. Yeah, yeah, go here. They gave them the rights to that one novel, and it became such a big hit. The problem was now two different people own the rights. One owned the rights to Silence of the Lambs, and one owns the rights to Red Dragon, Hannibal, and the other books, which is why the Hannibal show could never include Clarice Starling because they couldn't get the rights to that character, but they had the rights to all the other characters. So Everybody thought this movie was going to be a bomb. Nobody thought this movie was going to work. It's going to be a niche little, oh, we'll release it in the fall and people can have a horror film to enjoy. Nobody thought it was going to be what it is.
Right. Well, isn't this right too? Another big name actor also bought the rights for this film too, and it was Gene Hackman.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Yeah, so according to IMDb, when I was reading it, Gene Hackman bought the rights to the novel. He planned to direct this film and play either Dr. Hannibal Lecter or Jack Crawford. He withdrew after watching a clip of himself in Mississippi Burning at the 61st Annual Academy Awards, which made him uneasy about taking on more violent roles.
Mm.
Which is weird because didn't he play in Unforgiven shortly after too? And Unforgiven.
Yeah, I mean, the next year was Unforgiven, and he won the Oscar for that, playing the
Yeah.
bad guy.
So that's why it's like, okay, but that's why I said I was reading that, and then I heard even Jodie Foster try to get the rights, and I can see where you say it was a nightmare when this all happened. That's what I said. The good news is Anthony Hopkins does play Hannibal Lecter in all three, and it's well deserved. The question is though, before we kind of get more into what we liked and disliked, do you feel this is still the standout performance for him, or do you feel there are other movies that top that? And I know that's a hard discussion because he does play a lot of good roles.
I mean, it's certainly the best Hannibal performance. I
Yeah.
mean, the other two movies are, a bit of a disaster for one reason or
Yeah.
another. And I do think he loses track of the character in a significant way, which I was joking before we started recording that I like Mads Mikkelsen now better just because of the consistency he had for so many hours of performing the character. I love Remains of the Day. I do think it's a phenomenal film, and I think he is really like underplaying that performance, but nothing's going to top this is a towering performance. It doesn't matter what he does from here on out. He will always be compared. Was it Father just not too long ago? Was that the film that he was
Yeah,
nominated
he
for?
won Best Oscar for or Best Actor for. Yeah.
Which is incredible. And a movie I probably don't ever want to watch again because it was so painful to watch, that really personal way of examining aging and mental acuity and a really brutal, amazing performance. But yeah, this one is he chews the cast and the scenery.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I almost was gonna be a jerk and say you could have put How the Grinch Stole Christmas because he does narrate the story.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh, I was gonna say, there's two other ones that I enjoy of Anthony Hopkins that stand out for me. I do. I know it's a guilty pleasure. Maybe some people don't like it. Meet Joe Black. I like his role, Meet Joe
Yeah,
Black.
that's a good one.
And then one that I grew up watching was The World's Fastest Indian,
Ooh,
which
good one.
it's a good movie. It's a feel good movie. I think people should check that one out. It's from 2005. I forget he's in The Mask of Zorro as well.
Yeah.
He's cashing a check there. He's
Yeah,
getting his money.
yeah.
But like even then, like he was in big movies beforehand, but yet he wasn't the big person. Like he was in The Bridge Too Far. People forget
Yeah.
about that. There are good movies he's in, and yeah, it's really weird. It's like I said, he was in wasn't he in Bram Stoker's Dracula too?
Yes, he played Helsing, Van Helsing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the Katharine Hepburn film that was like the Lion in Winter, I think is what it's called.
Yes. I know exactly what
And
you're talking.
he's phenomenal in that. And he plays one of the sons of the king and queen who are kind of plotting to try to kill. It's Peter O'Toole, I think, and Katharine Hepburn. And if you want like a classic, because he was a theater actor and he was a classical actor, and this was a wonderful stage play that was becoming a film, and he's phenomenal in that.
Like another one I'll rival it, but again, I agree with John. I don't think you can top anything but Hannibal for him.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
would put his depiction of Alfred Hitchcock up there. I love him in Hitchcock. I think he played a phenomenal Hitchcock. And to kind of see the making of Psycho and see it in more of a psychological point of view for somebody like Alfred Hitchcock, it really was fantastic. Like my favorite scene is when he walks out of the theater, and this actually is stated to be true. He walks out of the opening screening of it and sits outside during the shower scene. And it was so funny to see Anthony Hopkins perform this. And then when they're like, dan, dan, and he's in there, ba-da, like he's dancing in the hallway. And it was so, I was like, that is perfect for him. Like this fits him. And but that's why I said I don't know if I could put, like, if we did a top five, that would be on my list. But yeah, number one would still be Hannibal Lecter. Like, you cannot, like, that 25 minutes for him to be only in a part of the movie. It is phenomenal, and it lasts a long time through the film. It's just what's really good about it. Now, let's go into what we loved and disliked about the film. So let's start with Patty B this round. Pat, you haven't talked much this episode,
No,
man.
I just like you guys. No, I mean,
Soaking it all in. He's
I'm
like,
soaking it all in, man. No, a big part for me, and I love the first 15 minutes of this movie. It's like what you say, Brandon. First 15 has to kind of gravitate you in. This is probably one of the best 15 minutes as an example of that. Just because, you kind of, the opening shot is Clarice doing her training in the woods. I love the setting. It's really grim, very Tim Burton-esque with the fog. It's kind of fall setting, I think. But you get a good description of who Clarice is within that first, 10 minutes of the movie, going in, getting called. I love it. Shows a lot about her character and how determined she is. She's one of my favorite parts of the movie, just character wise. How can you not love Clarice? It shows a lot of character, who she is, by just, oh, hey, boss needs to see you. She's literally going in there to talk to the boss with still sweat drenched clothes from her working out. She's like, hey, well, she's trying to prove herself. She's trying to establish, she's in that behavior science department of the FBI, and like I said, up and coming. Buffalo Bill is another one. A lot of his scenes are, I mean,
they make
they're
it all uncomfortable, but it was like, I wouldn't want to say it's justifiable uncomfortable, but it's that's what you needed for this film to even be more creepy. Why do you need Hannibal Lecter to be able to help you with something like this? So it was kind of like a needed uncomforting scene throughout the film to get Hannibal Lecter's character to shine more.
I think, and that's another thing too, and that's why I was kind of bringing up Ted Levine earlier. Is I feel like his character in this is what elevates this movie to a different meaning, or just a different feel to it. I know you got Hannibal and everything, and John, I know you were saying how you can kind of feel Hannibal's presence and everything, but it's like when Hannibal is, talking to Clarice in that first scene when she goes down to the cell and everything, and he's like, oh, what a naughty boy Buffalo Bill's been, and then you get to see what a naughty boy Buffalo Bill is. You know what I mean? It's just like, if Hannibal's talking about Buffalo Bill like that, it just goes to show what kind of person Buffalo Bill really is. Um, I think he's the dark horse in this movie as far as characters go. Doesn't get talked about as much as he should. One last thing, one last little tidbit for me, a part that I enjoy, and it's very mild, I guess you'd say, as far as what goes on in the movie itself. But the ending part where he talks to Clarice, or he calls her at at her award ceremony, and like the last lines that he tells her, and then the whole like panning out of him just following the two guys that are looking for him, and then that's how the credits roll. And it's just like, if you watch it, I mean, it's literally on for like 5 to 10 minutes, like it's on there for the whole credits, and I just love that. It's like the chef's kiss to the movie to me.
That was fantastic, Patrick. I totally agree with all of that. For me, there's so much to love, and this is one of my all-time favorite movies, which is weird to say because it's not a like comfort movie or by any means. But what I love about it, the best thing I like about it, and it happens in the novel as well as here, is the discussions around gender, and specifically with a lead character like Clarice in a male-dominated field, a male character villain who is trying to recreate himself as some kind of a female in some graphic sort of fashion. The discussions around gender all through this movie, and there's even a cinematic language utilized through the photography to amplify all of this. Clarice, thankfully Jodie Foster, very slight of build, very short woman, constantly surrounded by tall men, constantly put into positions, and then the camera almost always either is Jodie or has Jodie looking directly at it, or people looking directly at her, and it's off-putting, right? It puts us in her shoes a ton. There's a bunch of great shots, like at the very beginning, Patty B mentioning her exercise routine, and then she goes and gets in an elevator full of guys, and she's kind of like, the one woman, and they're all kind of looking at her. There's very much this like the feel of having leering, constantly looking at her, men always judging her, maybe examining her appearance for whatever reason. But then the next shot, the elevator doors open and she's the only one in the elevator. All the guys are gone. And it, whether that's metaphorical in some manner or what have you, it's the sense that she is unfazed by that, and that she just goes about her business and is the last one standing, figuratively, literally, all through the movie. And there's lots of the cinematic language around her and her having to constantly deal with the male gaze, at the coroner's office, right, where they're doing the body, and she's stuck out in the lobby for a couple of seconds. And
Super awkward too,
it's
right?
so
Because
awkward.
like
And
sitting
they do the
there.
shot where it's her and every single set of eyes is judging her, right? Either as a sexual object or as a judgment of one level of law enforcement to another, and kind of, giving her
Well,
that, oh, you're just a DEI hire kind of look. Like they're giving her that expression, some of these guys.
Well, like
well,
if
And then
she
she,
stands up and says, like, like, hey, I need you guys to step out. This needs to be this.
And she
Everyone,
doesn't take it. Yeah, she doesn't take it in any way.
yeah.
And so there's a constant use of filmmaking language here that I think is really phenomenal.
well,
And
it's
and
like
and the Hannibal and Clarice scenes where they're looking at each other as looking directly into a camera lens, which very rarely happens in film. And they're always trying to put us at discomfort, make us sit in Clarice's skin. And then of course a villain who is trying to wear skin. There's a literal and a figurative side to this discussion of what it is to be a woman in a man's field. And I think it's one of the rare times you, as a man, I could feel like I understood what that was like because I was cinematically forced to sit into it.
Well, that's the thing with this movie, and I agree with you 110%. But there's another scene I'd like to mention with that gender scene.
Oh
Is
yeah, there's
the
a ton of them.
scene. There, the prison scene when she first goes and visits Hannibal Lecter, when she's sitting in that room with the guy, the warden of the facility.
oh, I hate
It,
that guy so
that,
much.
but I think that's the best part of it is that you're supposed to hate him. You're
Yeah.
supposed to sit there and you're supposed to understand why Jodie Foster, again, it's another gender story where it's that he thinks this woman is small to him, like all this, but yet in reality, she's the one. When she comes back, she's like, I don't give a crap about you. I'm here to do my job. I'm here to do what I need to do to accomplish this, or it's going to be more deaths on our hands. And that's the whole thing. And I
It,
and I love that about her.
which it normalizes the concept that she's an object to, because women in this story, except to one another, and except maybe Hannibal to her, women are objects. Even
Yep.
Jack Crawford uses her as a toy so that
Yeah.
he can get information.
I didn't
Jack
even think
Crawford,
about that because she's kind of like a pawn, right? She's like a
yeah,
nobody, and dude, what I didn't even think
it's
about
constantly
Like,
happening. And
but
then
that's
and
exactly why
and
Hannibal.
it's funny that the creepiest example, the most like traumatic example, is a therapist doctor running an asylum who just looks at her and asks her for dinner. Yet it is instantly the most discomforting thing. It's way more awkward than anything Hannibal does to her in the entire movie. Is that guy like eating his pen and then saying like, "We've had many people here, but none so lovely. What are you doing? Are you staying here?" And you're
Yeah,
just
he's
like,
like,
"Get me out of this
Baltimore's a
place."
fine town if you
But
have the right guide.
see, that's
It's
why I love
so creepy.
Barney in that
Or
in those
Yeah.
parts too. Like when you get Barney in there, it's like a sense of respect. It's like, hey, I understand why you're doing this. Just be careful, but I'm going to leave you at it. And you see, like, and it's again kind of a callback to what we said about Hannibal. You get that sense of Hannibal only targets bad people. He does not target the good. And
Well,
I think,
it's a little more subtle than that. The term he uses in the books is free range rude,
yeah,
right? He doesn't it's not that you're good or bad because he's not a good or evil kind of guy. Those terms are very different for him. It's more, he says to Clarice at the end, the world is a better place with you in it. It's a more interesting place, right? The fact that she's adding some flavor or spice to the dish of life that he can value versus he doesn't care about Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill doesn't mean anything to him. He thinks it's interesting, and he doesn't dislike Buffalo Bill. He's not judging Buffalo Bill. He's judging Jack Crawford. He's judging all these people that caught him, and he's judging those people. But it's more about, are you adding flavor, or are you over seasoning or ruining the meal of life for him in some way?
and that's a good way to put it. I didn't really think of it that way, and that's a great way to take it. That's why I said this film, like the going back to the gender stuff too. One of the other scenes that stands out to me, like you said, the coroner's office. When you have that standout moment that she actually is the one that says she's not from around here. And it's a callback to our crime trivia showdown. So fans, if you haven't went and seen John and Patrick go at it with that, but the whole nail polish scene when she finds out, yeah, that's not from around here. It shows you a sense of Crawford isn't maybe the best person on this case, and yet it might be Clarice. And Clarice is the one that can see different things and come from a different point of view. And I love that too, because I know they did that purposely too with the filming, the way they shot straight up. And then when you saw Clarice, it was slightly tilted in
Yeah.
one direction because it was the point of view of you were supposed to be in Clarice's shoes. The whole movie is about Clarice. You are supposed to be understanding from her point of view. So you're in when she's investigating the story, you're investigating this
And
story.
it's from the very get-go too. I mean, that's just another example too of like how John was saying, not only does Hannibal Lecter bleed into every scene, but so does Clarice.
Yeah.
In a certain way. I mean, I know her being the focal point. I mean, maybe that just alludes to the fact of there's a reason why they both had
Character development.
success from the movie.
Clarice's character right bleeds through is that character development throughout the film. You get that from the beginning that she's a rookie. She's trying to make her way in. That first scene you see her in the prison where the other prisoners are harassing her. And not only that, the warden himself is harassing her.
Mhm.
But you then at that point is when you see Hannibal go, she's not she is still good at heart. She is still good. Like I'm trying to find the right word to say, like he finds like a sense of like John was saying, like a flavor to her. And so that's why he gives her that first note, like, go check Mr. Moffat out, go check this out, and then come back to me and let's talk about it.
Speaking of flavor, let's have a show of hands of who thinks her accent really is like a cherry on top of her character.
Well,
Uh,
something
no, I'm
about
Definitely.
just saying, like, it really just adds, like that, like you said, it's like that spice. I don't know, it just adds a certain level to it. You know, it's just these little nuances of her and how she talks, and she's really polite. I think that's another lovable quality of her is how polite she is. She's super professional. She doesn't really get out of line too much.
going to the accent quick, I do have a good fun trivia point. Jodie Foster actually claims that during the first meeting between Dr. Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, Anthony actually mocking the Southern accent was improvised.
That's cool.
And the thing was, and so her reaction was actually like real, like she didn't know
Genuine.
what's going on, but she thanked him after because she was like, "Well, why did you do that?" And she goes, "Well, I try to do something different to get a genuine reaction out of you."
Get under your skin, yeah.
And she thanked him for that because that's literally what set that up from here on out. And to see their relationship kind of flourish to what it is, it's really well done between the two of them.
I think to your point of what is the element that he gravitates to? What is the flavor that Jodie's character or that Clarice is bringing to Hannibal's world? Obviously, the ploy is like Jack Crawford says she hasn't, or the Dr. Chilton says he hasn't seen a woman in however many years. That's the hook, right? Men are visual. We tend to judge a woman by her appearance first and then get to know them, and the personality comes second. And so I think the reason Jack sent her, not just her appearance, she's an incredibly honest character. And what she's bringing is truth. Like she doesn't, except for one moment, she doesn't really lie to Lecter. She is honest. She shares incredibly intimate things about her life. She brings truth. And I think he respects that from her. He respects that he can read her instantly, break her down instantly, and it doesn't run her away. She comes back and she continues to be honest with him, except again for that one that one time when she completely bamboozles him, and then I think that impresses him that she was able to pull one over, and he even says something like that was good. Like he was like toying with her, like I'm impressed. Most people can't lie
And
to me and pull it off.
you're talking about the scene where she's like, "Hey, if you help me with this,
I got
Yeah.
all these stipulations for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll send you to this new facility and there's birds nesting and
you
there's a
get to go
beach
on
and
an
you can
island."
walk
It
and
was a great PowerPoint presentation from
And then
and
how she has them all in vanilla folders, like,
yeah.
here's the survey, here's your documents from the congressman, and
non-negotiable.
yeah,
Yeah.
non-negotiable. And he just sits there like, like it's just amazing to really see the two together like that. The cinematography of this film was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The shots down the hall of the prisons, the shots of her training, even the
Yeah.
projector shots I thought were really well done. One of the things that I gravitate to with it is the night vision scene.
Oh man.
That scene was one of the most creepiest things
Oh
I've
yeah.
ever watched, because when you're seeing, it's like, oh yeah, you're done for it. And then just seeing how Clarice overpowers him, it's just amazing to really see that scene really played out, and it's really well done. The Yeah, that scene alone. What was your guys' take on the cinematography of the film?
Well, that scene right there, that's a perfect example of what you were saying with how everything is in Clarice's point of view. And like it's a perfect still, there's a perfect still shot. I believe it's that scene where everything is dark around her, but you have the light on her face and you can see her eyes. And it really like captures the beauty of her, in my opinion. Like it just like when I was watching the other day, I said out loud, I'm like, man, her eyes are like super blue. Like they just stick out because that's just the way the lighting is. And it's I think when she's trying to find she's trying to find like everything's dark.
And that hand reaches out right to the
Oh,
side of her head.
oh, dude. Yeah. I mean,
That's nightmare stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. The whole tunnel or the whole like the hole that he has in
The
his
well, yeah.
yeah, the well there. And she's like, the shot's looking up and everything, and he's like, just put the
Oof, yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean
It's
the cinematography is my I mean, again, it's a cinema language that, sorry, I hit my microphone there. It's a cinema language that Demi uses really, really well. They edit around Anthony Hopkins blinking so that he almost never blinks in the movie. They do an intentional like cut in and around his eyes, so he's almost always has his eyes wide open the entire time. And then they do this other thing where they slowly remove barriers between Clarice and Hannibal. And at the beginning, you constantly seeing plastic and bars and holes and things. And the final few shots between the two of them where they're talking, you can't even see the bars between them. They move the camera in such a way that the bars are gone, and it's almost like they're just talking face to face. So it's a cinematic language as they become closer, as they legitimately have less and less between them. There's just two people honestly speaking to one another. And there's a ton of cinematic language all through the movie that you could rewatch and gain an understanding of why you're feeling a certain way as an audience member because of how intentional the editing, the music, and the cinematography come together to create that language.
agree. Now, I think it's time to I don't think there's going to be a lot of moments that we talk about with dislikes about the film, because even though this is there are times where this film becomes very uncomfortable to watch at points, it still keeps you intrigued. It keeps you watching because you want to know what happens next. And it is a great story of suspense. It is that story of, it grips you from the beginning. Like Patrick said, I'm always been the proponent of the first 15 minutes of a movie is very important. You have to hook me. And that first 15 minutes, you don't even get Hannibal Lecter right away. It's a sense of you're setting up who Hannibal is and why he's important in this film. And to see Clarice being the first one to open him up, it's like, there we go. That's what we want. And then it just suspense throughout the film from there on out. I don't know. I don't really hate anything about this film. It's really well told. Oh, Patrick's got one. Of course you do, Patty
I
B.
I absolutely it's just a character. I absolutely despise the hospital
Warden.
warden.
Dr. Chilton.
Yeah.
That dude sucks.
But it's the character, right? Not the actor.
Oh no. The actor, yeah. The actor is fine. It's the
Because
character.
even on the Hannibal series, Dr. Frederick Chilton is just as,
Just as scummy,
foul.
he's a scumbag.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's I think what it is. It's just him being such a scumbag. It's like, man, dude, that dude from the get-go, like the whole him talking to Clarice the way you don't talk to my girl Clarice like that, you know?
Yeah, Anthony
Come
Hill
on now.
name. Anthony Hill. It,
Yeah.
it yeah, like he was in, I forget, he's in X-Men The Last Stand as well. He's the
There's
FBI Mystique. He's the agent that Mystique impersonates. It's
More Brett Ratner bad choices.
that's why I said it's
What about the one moment that takes me out of the movie, and it's a quibble. I will never believe that Chris Isaac can lead a SWAT team. I'm just
oh
saying,
dude,
like
they
I
like that.
love me some great music, love me some Chris Isaac, but like he's leading a SWAT team. I mean, it takes me right out of the movie. I'm like, what's Chris Isaac doing in
When
there?
you
Get
do
that guy
that,
out
you
of here.
involve yourself in a wicked game, no pun intended.
But it's a quibble. He's only in a couple of shots in the whole movie, but like it's like you can't stop by going, that's Chris Isaac.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, and this might be a problem, and I know he performed his role well. I did not like Scott Glenn, and I don't know why it kind of raised me the wrong way. Like, I know it's like you said, John, it was the purpose of showing again a woman in a man's world situation. But for me, Scott Glenn, it just felt so, how do you say it, like monotone. Like it
Mm.
was just, I just felt like he was so flat. Like it was just like, yeah, like you're there, but you're not the one really pushing that story more. Like
It
that
was,
first 15
yeah.
minutes was great with him. After that, it was just like, why are you here situation.
It
And
was the showy role in some ways, which is why I could see Gene Hackman being interested in it because of the popularity of the novel Mindhunter, which became the Netflix show, and John Douglas being this, I don't know, this kind of icon in an FBI lore because of creating the behavioral sciences department. And I know that a lot of Dennis Farina played him in Manhunter, and Harvey Keitel played the character in Red Dragon, and then Lawrence Fishburne played him in Hannibal. It's a very popular role because it extends outside of the film, right? This is a real, it's based on a real person, and in that way I think there's some gravitas to it, but I agree. He is given little to do beyond what he does in that first scene.
like, do you feel like if, like, say somebody like Gene Hackman actually took up that role, or somebody like you said, Lawrence Fishburne, or I know Lawrence Fishburne was young during that time, like this is kind of his start, but
Right.
like say somebody like Gene Hackman, who's already a well-established actor at that point, do you think somebody like him would have changed the outlook of the film, or
I
do you?
think it would have changed the script. I think those kind of actors would have demanded more scenes, more character arc, more time. And maybe that would have been fine because it was already a short film. You could add 10 minutes and not blow the budget or blow the quality of the film. But I think the character serves the function, which is to continually place Clarice and and Hannibal at odds with one another. And that's the function in that story, in that novel, and in this screenplay. But for me, I wouldn't want it to in any way damage the incredible dialogue that we get throughout the film because we're now adding moments for Jack Crawford, who really, obviously he caught Hannibal, but he did it with the help of Will Graham, who is nowhere in this film. The Will Graham character at this point has completely forsaken FBI life. He doesn't appear in any of the other novels but the original one, and I think in that way, I think it was Patty B saying like, Jack Crawford is living off of laurels he didn't earn. He caught Hannibal, but he did it because of somebody else, right? So in that way, he's not the smartest guy in the room. He's just got the best credentials, right? And I think there's a big difference, which is why he needs Clarice and why Clarice brings so much to the table. He needed Will Graham to catch Hannibal the first time and to catch the Tooth Fairy Killer, and now he needs Clarice to help him with this one.
Yeah. And that's a good point to bring up. That's why I said I think that was like my only dislikes about the film. But even then, it's not a big issue compared to other movies that we've talked about, because those are just small little gripes. Like, it's like you could have did more with him, or you could have done more with this character. But that's every movie we're going to do. There's going to be actors that were like, give us a little bit more into this character. Because for a lot of people, this was the first time really experiencing somebody like Hannibal Lecter. And for even, like we said, for how long Anthony Hopkins in this film, I feel like every character really could have had something that leaves a lasting impact.
Yeah.
And Clarice is perfect for that. I think Jodie Foster well deserved her Oscar win that she had. And it, that's why I said it's just some of those minor characters was like, I want a little more from you if need to be, or don't show up. Like if they would have just left Glenn in that first 15 minutes of the film, I'd been probably satisfied with it.
Mhm.
And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just when he shows up throughout the rest of it, it's like, okay, yeah, you're pushing the narrative a little bit more, but it's not you. It's more Clarice finally getting into what this case is about. And
Yeah.
Clarice is the one already putting everything together. Like,
He
this is
represents the status quo, right? He represents like how it's been done, the male dominated field. He represents the norm, and I think she is upending the norm, and we appreciate her for the difference that she's bringing to the table.
great.
So in that way, it is the straight man in some manner to the what Clarice is doing as far as he tells her, don't tell him anything about yourself. And then she totally throws that out the window and gives him like all of the most intimate details of her youth. So in that way, he's representing old guard and she's representing new guard.
Right. And that's a good way to put that. Now, John, did you have any dislikes before we go into rankings and
I mean,
everything?
just I'll crap on Chris Isaac as much as I can. That's pretty that's pretty much it. I love seeing Roger Corman as the head of the FBI when he shows up. It's a great little scene or whatever, and knowing how he connects to so many other people that worked on the film, it was a nice little like. Oh, all of us learned schlocky horror tricks through working for Roger Corman, and now we're elevating it to the art form of winning a Best Picture, and Roger's there. He's like he's going along with them. This B filmmaker has arrived to A filmmaking status in some kind of fun way. So I'm not I don't have a ton of complaints. I really don't. I really don't think this film has many flaws.
Yeah.
So let's get into the trivia questions here a little bit. Now, as you guys know, Patrick and John have went at it with each other. John has come up on top.
Is it Gladiator? I don't know that this feels like the reality.
I know, right? He's getting this like prepare for battle, fight to the death. Each person has been provided a dagger, and may the best man win.
And
Yeah.
whoever wins, it's merely
Well, as Apollo Creed would say, ding, ding.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
And then at the end of it, it's just merely a flesh wound. You all have
Just got my one arm.
yeah, it's like it's just a scratch. But I got 5 questions for you guys. Let's see how much you guys remember of this film.
Oh God.
We're gonna kind of start off with the beginning a little bit. What grade did Clarice get in Jack Crawford's seminar class?
A minus.
What'd you say, Patrick?
I said A minus as well.
Okay, so it is A minus. A minus, okay? What is the name of the orderly that works at the asylum where Hannibal Lecter
Barney.
I didn't get to hear the question. That's fine. He won that one. It's cool.
lived?
Sorry.
Yeah, Barney was the one that was the orderly for the hospital, or one of the orderlies for the hospital.
I have a random question about Barney. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Does that character work if he's white?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Because I don't think so either. I feel like he's
Very
only
likable.
able to understand her situation because of understanding how probably being a minority has impacted his life as well. And
Well, I
seeing
think
a
what the
woman in her
warden,
position.
like the warden, I think speaks for him. It's like I agree with you. It's like a sense of it's Clarice in a whole different aspect. It's Barney is the orderly.
Well, that's how they connect right before she goes into the dungeon. That's like there's like this sense of
respect between the two.
exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
he appears in the Hannibal book and the Hannibal film in the same kind of capacity as somebody that had respect for how she was able to connect to Hannibal the way he was.
Hell, he even appeared in the epic rap battles they did with Hannibal Lecter. He was the one that told, yeah, you ever watch that episode? It was him versus Jack the Ripper.
That's hilarious.
and he bashes Jack the Ripper. It's like it's not even a competition. Once that first lines come out, you hear Hannibal Lecter's like, "No, no, Jack, you were doing fine." It's like it was so done. He did it. What was it? Epic Lloyd, who does Hannibal, and that it's just so like you could tell he did his research, and you
All
could tell
right.
it just was really fantastic. But I know that's a side thing. Shout out to Epic Rap Battles of History. We want more from you soon, so hopefully you'll do.
You went really hard into the epic rap battles.
I do like Epic Rap Battles of History. So this fun fact, that was actually how I kind of started getting into wanting to do. Now, it wasn't like what inspired me to do podcasting, but it was one of the things to actually start a YouTube channel because I really enjoyed their YouTube videos. I really enjoyed the work they put into it and everything, and it's just amazing. The songs, I actually have some of them on my phone. That is how catchy the songs are. And for
Mhm.
me, being a history person, it speaks volumes when they actually do research and actually.
Sure.
So here's your next question, and it's kind of a quote. Agent Starling meet Mr. Asarontia Sticks, better known to his friends as the what?
Oh, I got it. I got it.
I got it too. I know this one. Death's head moth.
Yes, from Asia. Yes, I had that written down right here.
Well, Patrick got the next question right because that was where my question
Ah,
was going, is where it was located. But I have another backup question,
that's
Justin.
fine. No, give
All
it to
right.
him. I would not have known that it was from Asia. I don't know that I would have been able to answer that.
Yeah, like why they find it over here? And he's like,
You have to
someone really,
really well breed it. Like
yeah,
it.
someone like really loved this insect and really like took care of it, fed it honey, all that kind of stuff.
Here's your next question. This is where things get a little bit more challenging.
Jeez.
How many times does Clarice see Hannibal through the film?
You're not counting the phone call then, because that was just
Yes, I'm
voice.
not just seeing.
Visual.
Yeah.
Uh,
This isn't The Grudge.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess
I was gonna
four
say
times.
I would say three.
Fine, got it right. It
Okay.
is four. The last scene is in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last time they see each other is when, like John said earlier, is when he kind of gives her kudos too a little bit that she tricked him. Here's your last question. This is by far the hardest one. What is Lecter's number on his shirt in
Oh,
Tennessee?
get the heck out of here. I'm not gonna get this one. No clue. No,
I
give
got.
up.
I know it. It's
THX 1138.
8675309.
8675309.
All right, what is it?
It's B5160-8. I really had to
How
go.
do I not know that?
I know, right? Numbers. But that's why I said that it was sad when Patrick goes from Asia. I'm like, I hate you because that was
No, he gave him the point because I would never have gotten that. I would never have
it's a
gotten that.
tie. We're gonna call that a tie. That's what I said. You guys are
Deal.
team. The That's what I said. So let's go into our rankings, close out this podcast. John, where do you rank this on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, this is one of my all-time faves. Have a hard time not just saying 10 and walking away. It's just one of my faves. So I'll just say 10.
10. Okay. What about you, Patty B?
I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 9.1.
I would get.
I don't think it's a perfect movie. I didn't grow up. Okay, since before we wrap this up, I have to tell you that my first exposure to this movie wasn't even this movie. It was Joe Dirt. Um, so you gotta give me a little bit of a break there. All right. The fact that they got Ted Levine to go in and do that is pretty cool. Like the fact that he plays a cameo. I think they called him Buffalo Bob though instead, just for copyright reasons. Oh, but yeah, 9.1 sounds sufficient to me. So
I'm going to give it a 9.7. It is close to my 10. I've talked about this before on a previous episode, or actually one of our first episodes, where this movie actually almost made my top 10 movies on an island because I want movies that keep me intrigued. And I feel like every time you watch this, there's something new to learn. It
it's
is
rewatchable.
Yeah, it is. It keeps you intrigued with learning new things about a movie. And it's always talked about that when you watch a movie, you're always going to see something new. This
Mhm.
is a movie that intrigues you to pay attention to watch something new, like to pay attention to something different in the film that you may have never seen. And and there's always little hints, like John was saying, hints and things like that give you different views. This was actually one of my first rated R films. So watching this at a young age, it was a lot for me. It meant a lot. It wasn't my first one. The first one went to The Punisher with Thomas Jane, which,
Oh, I was gonna say it wasn't Dolph Lundgren again.
oh God, no. But and still Punisher, underrated film. I'm still putting it out there. Very underrated.
I like
Tom,
Thomas Jane in
Thomas Jane is amazing.
Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane in Boogie Nights is one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
I figured you'd put that out
Isn't
there.
he in Deep Blue Sea?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
Okay,
he
Deep
is.
Blue Sea is one of my faves, dude. That's one of my yeah. I think that goes over him as Todd but him as Todd in Boogie Nights is perfect.
But
For only having like maybe 10 minutes of screen time, it's perfect.
but that's why I said I give it a 9.7 for me. I think it's a great film. Of course, it has some flaws, but not to the point where I feel it's detrimental to the film. But yeah, fans, let us know what you guys think about Silence of the Lambs. What's your favorite part of the film? Who's your favorite actor? Do you feel that Anthony Hopkins deserved the Oscar for his 25 minutes of the film? Let us know in the comments. Check us out, J4F Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Also, check us out on YouTube and Spotify. Remember to subscribe, hit the like button if you like this content, you want more. Please let us know what movies you would like us to cover. And on top of it, hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. We want to thank John again for coming on with us and having fun and talking about this fantastic movie. John, thank you again. Where can the fans find you?
Yeah, John's Comics with Kids. YouTube, I do a ton of stuff there. Instagram, a bunch. I'm on the TikTok and the Blue Sky and whatever else as well, but mainly YouTube and Instagram.
Awesome, awesome. Now, fans, like we said, let us know what movies you would like us to cover because we would love to hear your opinions. Maybe we can get John on a few of them with us from here on out to talk different movies and stuff with us. But Patty B, take us out.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. This was a fun one. This is a fun movie to talk about. I don't know if fun, I guess I don't know if fun's the right word for it, but nonetheless,
Intriguing.
it was fun and intriguing. I think that's a good way to
Intriguing.
put it. Thank you, John, as always, man. It's always a pleasure having you on. B-Dog, thank you again for everything. And thank you guys. And remember, we do it just for flicks. And guess what? We have to leave because we're having an old friend for dinner.